Greetings, kindred. Wishing you all a happy new moon and a happy Chinese New Year. So, in Chinese astrology, we're entering into the year of the wood snake. So, the snake is from the serpent family, or to me, connected to Ophiuchus. So, the Chinese dragon would be the male serpent, and the snake would be the female serpent. So, it's the masculine and the feminine. So, we have a feminine energy coming in this year. Now, snakes do represent wisdom. They're very strategic, but they can also be very slippery. Do you know what I mean? So I'm kind of curious to see what this year brings in, to be honest. And the serpent energy is definitely there with the wood snake. So this new moon, let's get into the times actually. So the new moon will begin on the 29th of January at 12:35 here in the GMT time zone, at 7:35 in the EDT time zone, and at 23:35 in the AEDT time zone. So as the new moon begins, she will be at 9 degrees in Capricorn, conjunct the sun, as she always is at a new moon. I call her a she because it is a feminine. The sun is masculine overall. But like I've always said, the moon was originally a masculine, but became feminine after, the moon was destroyed, because the moon is now a dead planet. And the sun at the epicenter, the actual ball of the sun, is masculine, but the rays that come from the sun are feminine. So we do have the masculine and feminine with the sun and moon here. Now, in the sign of Capricorn, Capricorn is a sign that holds a lot of wisdom, as does Cancer. We don't have planets in Cancer, but I would say out of the Zodiac, these two are known for wisdom in their maturity. In their immaturity, they can be very self-centered. But I get the feeling like this moon in Capricorn, in this particular instance, is really a Capricorn in its wisdom. And I'll get into why, because the aspects are all looking pretty good, actually. So I feel this new moon's energy is going to be very revitalizing for many, many people. And I feel that energies have been building towards that anyway, with what's going on globally. Things seem to be happening, in the right direction. And I'm not a pessimist, but I am a realist. Like I said, I would rather wait and see at the end of the year, really, and reflect back on what's occurred this year. Because, like I said, the snake is very, holds a lot of wisdom, is very strategic, but also very slippery. And with this Neptune here, it's amazing for artists and music. And like I said, if there's any negative energy around, like music and art and, spiritual kind of rituals, they tend to like bring in good energy. Do you know what I mean? So I would say, that's the way to go. If we're feeling a little bit stressed or apprehensive in any way, then, do something creative or do something meditative, like nature walks, etc. But anyway, overall, with the moon in Capricorn, it is kind of like, it's a good grounding energy. We're not so quick to act. We take our time with things. We look at all aspects of a situation first. Although, the moon in Capricorn is more inclined to lean towards the material rather than the spiritual. But, being in your wisdom doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be, spiritually inclined as well. or they may not see that they are, but I see that as more being in your morals and principles. So I do feel there's a lot of that going on this new moon, a lot of people coming into awareness, especially with this Mercury-Pluto conjunction here. You know, this is definitely taking the blinkers off. This is really seeing things as they are. But it can also be very mind-blowing as well, especially since there's only 1 degree between them. You know, but it's definitely an aspect of enlightenment, of like, you know, gaining like clarity, but in a big way, you know, so there's a lot of clarity, a lot of clear vision going on here. And Mercury is pretty much in conjunction with the moon as well. I mean, I would call this a stellium, really, because Pluto's energy is very strong and vast. It's very, very powerful energy. So I would say that this is definitely a little stellium that's going on here. And you have Mercury and the moon really in the middle. I won't include the MC because that's for here in the UK. But in the UK here, yeah, there's a lot of clarity going on with many things. A lot of things are coming to light. But I feel on a global level, there's a lot of clarity as well about certain things. Whether that's, you know, it could be on a global level, but also on an individual and personal level. Because the Sun, Moon, and Mercury are personal planets, although Pluto is more a global planet. So I just feel that, you know, if it's a global clarity that we're gaining here or insight, it's more about insight with Pluto. It's definitely going to affect us personally, how we see things, how we think, you know, so how we feel and how we kind of move forward from that. So, you know, the one thing with the moon in conjunct to Pluto, with Pluto's energy touching the moon, you know, it does give us like a really strong willpower, but also our feelings can become very intense. But there's a lot of psychic intuition that comes in with that as well. And, you know, there can be a lot of changes that are really taking place within the global community. You know, feelings are changing. I mean, like I said in some of my videos before, a lot of people are exhausted, and I do feel there's still an element of exhaustion there. But it's like the human body, the human mind, the human emotions are kind of unique. You know, we have a way of adapting. You know, our DNA, you know, adapts to our environmental conditioning as well as our diet, the way we think, the way we feel. So it's very important that we get on solid ground, you know, and hold ourselves steady. And, you know, daily positive affirmations, we've got to keep our spirits high. And I think Pluto here can help us to do that. Now, Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn and Saturn is in Aquarius. That's why I feel it's a lighter energy because, you know, Saturn in Aquarius is a little bit more liberated. I mean, I've gone through the story before, like Saturn represents the god Anu in Sumerian mythology. Aquarius represents Nama in Sumerian mythology. Now, there's not a lot written about Nama, but I do believe she was a serpent high priestess of Tiamat, and Tiamat is former Earth. You know, Saturn was from a planet called Maldak, so they're the ones that came down and taught us all about technology and stuff like that. But it was actually the serpent that walked the lands of Tiamat. So it was Nama and Anu coming together in a relationship that really birthed humanity. And he is actually, you know, the one that was banished to Earth. Well, at the time it became Earth after Tiamat got destroyed. So Saturn in Aquarius, this is like, the mother and the father coming together, in unity. And I really do feel like, depending on the degree as well. I mean, 1 and 9 add up to 10. 19 is quite a fortunate number anyway. It's not a negative number. But it is new beginnings as well, as it breaks back down to 1. And I just feel that this new moon is very liberating for many, many people. So with Mercury, like I said, in conjunction, like that can be pretty mind-blowing. But, it's also a very investigative aspect, where no stone will be left unturned, where truth is more important than comfort. And, again, it's very, very psychic energy where we can read things, either we're using our clairvoyance or our clairaudience or clairsentience, or we just have really good intuition. It really does depend on our spiritual natures and what practices we follow. So we also have a grand trine with the moon in trine to the south node, and the south node in trine to Jupiter, and Jupiter in trine to the moon. So it's this one here. So it's more earth, and there's a touch of fire there. But Taurus is an earth sign. But Jupiter is also in retrograde in Taurus. So he's slowed down a lot. So I would say there's a lot of grounding energy here where we can really get our faculties straight, especially with the new moon taking place in an earth sign, because Capricorn is an earth sign. So there's a lot of earthy energy going on here. And the fact that we're entering into the Chinese New Year, the wood snake, the wood is grounding energy, very much connected to the earth. So I would say definitely nature walks, in woods, in parks, would be fantastic right now. Definitely deep breathing techniques as we're doing that as well. So apart from that grand trine, we also have a kite with Uranus in trine to Pallas, which is here, and then Pallas in trine to the south node. So it is kind of like a double kite in trine to the south node, and the south node back in trine to Uranus. The trine within the grand cross, let me see. Okay, so this is fire and earth again. So where we had a little touch of fire here, but Jupiter in retrograde in an earth sign slows him down, so the fire's not that great. But here, Uranus tends to be pretty erratic, but Uranus is also in retrograde. Now, these retrogrades will come to an end by February time. I'll give you the dates for those in a minute. So the goddess Pallas is in Sagittarius. So the goddess Pallas is really acting as a truth seeker. Uranus in Aries is the humanitarian to the fullest. This energy can really give us a lot of willpower, a lot of insights as well. So with Uranus in trine to the goddess Pallas, this is all about a love of freedom. This is very strategic, especially when it comes to making change, but also very creative and inventive, inspirational, and it's really good for humanitarian groups or causes, especially with Uranus in trine in Aries. Aries is a protector of the underdog, and Uranus represents actually rules Aquarius, who is the humanitarian. Uranus himself is actually what I consider to be the eunuch. He's a great protector of the feminine. And even though The moon is in a masculine sign. There is a lot of other energy here that's very spiritual, and spiritual actually represents the feminine. Although I feel that it's not going to be, like religious as in a doctrine. I feel it's more spiritual as in morals and principles. And then we have like the goddess Pallas in trine to the south node here. Now that's really good for keeping us in our wisdom and really looking at the past, all the lessons, all the knowledge, I should say, that we've gained from the past, we can actually take that forward to the future. So whatever's gone on in the past and wherever we're at on our path right now, it can help us to look to the future in a more strategic way. And then we have the South Node in trine to Uranus. Again, this is about past experience. The South Node always represents the past, what we're comfortable with, the knowledge we already hold. So, again, that's all about learning from the past or taking the knowledge from the past into the future when it comes to liberation and inventiveness. It's very, very good for personal growth. So I feel this is a very transforming energy that's going on here, this new moon. And then on top of the kite, there is the kite is actually triple-sided, but I'm just going to deal with this one because this is the major one. So on top of the kite, we actually have Venus, Neptune, and the North Node all conjunct in the sign of Pisces. Now, Pisces is a very empathic star sign. Actually, Pisces rules the first house. Pisces is actually, not giving the credit that Pisces deserves because Pisces is a very dominant energy, especially in our skies. Pisces sits above Cetus, and Cetus really comes to us in our dreams. That's the only way Cetus can get through to us. And Cetus is considered like, the sea monster. He's the monster that hides in the closet. That's where all that comes from. That all comes from the star or the constellation, I should say. He's not a star sign, he's a constellation, Cetus. But he can come to us in dreams, especially if we have the moon near him or Neptune, So I would say that there is that kind of energy there, especially with the Black Moon Lilith down here. So it's an external energy, but we pick up on external energy, especially if we're sensitive, and Pisces is renowned for sensitivity. With Venus actually in sextile to Uranus, this is very vivacious, very artistic, very musical. But also this aspect rules electronics and science, radio, television, and recording studios. Like I said, so anyone who's in the artistic industry, music industry, art in general, it's going to be a very good time for that. And with Neptune in sextile to Uranus, this is a generational aspect that I think came into effect last year sometimes. And this is all about expansion of spiritual consciousness, but it's also very inventive and musical as well. So I really do feel, it's good for musicians, but also good for like sound baths, chanting, group prayer, group meditation. So I really do feel it's going to be good for that as well. Now, this little stellium here with Venus, Neptune, and the North Node, this is all about unconditional love and our healing abilities. Again, it's good for music, art, and anything to do with the mystic realms. But in its immaturity, it can be like a bit of a dreamer, can also be very deceptive and unreliable, like building castles in the sky. We never kind of reach the North Node exactly. There's always, like I said before, we can get there to where the North Node is positioned, but then it shifts. It's like the goalpost is always shifting when it comes to the North Node. But I do feel in this instance, it can be very, very inspiring when it comes to creativity, when it comes to crafting. I just feel it can be very, very inspiring. And I just feel also there could be a lot of clairvoyance, a lot of dreams and visions that come in with this energy. So just watch out for that. And with the North Node in sextile to Uranus, this could be, there's a lot of change going on in public opinion. There can also be kind of out of the blue situations that occur. I feel that all revolves around, reformation of societies. So I do feel in certain countries, like rules and regulations and stuff like that are coming about. And I know that's happening here in the UK. And obviously in the US, there's changes going on there as well. So it's not necessarily for the good or bad. It really does depend on the situation and, what they have in mind. So, yeah, this kite is actually quite a powerful kite that's going on this new moon. But then we have these two T squares. We have Uranus in opposition to Juno here, and they're making a square to the goddess Ceres. So with the opposition between Juno and Uranus, we can be torn between being committed and, being free. So I feel people are feeling very sluggish at the moment. They know they got things that they got to do, but also they probably feel like they need a bit of free time to go and do other stuff, especially with the Venus up here in conjunction to Neptune and the North Node in sextile to Uranus. Now, this is like definitely someone who just enjoys their pleasure time, whatever your pleasures are in life, whether it is creating or actually, I see a lot of partying going on with these energies, It's like everybody just wants to have a party, everyone just wants to have fun and enjoy themselves. And why not? Because we've been under intense pressure for several years now. So I do feel that there's this energy of wanting to burst out of this bubble that we've all been in. So I do feel there's a push and pull between these energies. And with Uranus in square to Ceres and Juno in square to Ceres, this can be all about old relationships, really, or relationships that may be breaking down now. Now, this is not just about intimate relationships, this is about family relationships or parent-children relationships. So there could be breakdowns in families at the moment, or that could be coming to light. Because with the goddess Ceres, she does represent the abused child, or the abandoned child. And something caught my eye yesterday, actually, about, missing children. So I feel that this is very much connected to that. So I would just say, like, this T-square is putting a lot of pressure on people's emotions or emotional stability. So just watch out for that. And then we have another T-square with Mars, who's in retrograde right now in Gemini, in opposition to Pallas as well, making a T-square towards Chiron. So, wow, this is pretty emotional as well, especially since Chiron is still transiting through Pisces. He He has been since around about, I think 2015, 2016, he entered into Pisces around about that time. Could have been a little bit before, but definitely not after. So, you know, when Chiron's transiting through Pisces, it's very deep, like the wounding is very deep. But then the healing energies are very deep as well, or very strong, you know, because Pisces is a healing energy. So with Mars in retrograde, though, in opposition to Pallas, I mean, Pallas is very much associated with Gemini. Pallas actually is very much associated with all the air signs. So Gemini, Aquarius, and Libra. So this is like definitely a need here for us to stay in our self-power, to maintain our confidence, you know, with Mars retrograding in Chiron, I think we're reviewing where we've run away from ourselves. You know, sometimes we distract ourselves with other people's problems because we don't want to deal with our own. It's that kind of energy. But it can also be like burnout. You know, maybe that's why people are kind of torn between commitment and freedom at the moment, because like there is a burnout, there is a need to rest, but I think where we've been at it, it's hard to pull away and take that break. And I think, you know, if we're on that level, we have to know that nothing's going to change by taking out 5 minutes, do you know what I mean, in your day, or a week even. You know, whatever's needed, you have to take a break. And, you know, when you go back to things after taking a break, it's really refreshing, as you can come back with a clearer head, you know, you're recharged, and it just works out better. Do you know what I mean? So if we need that break, then we should be taking that right now. We have to be careful that we're not out of balance. We have to be careful that we're, you know, with this energy as well, we can either be too giving or too selfish. Do you know what I mean? Or coming across as selfish because we're holding back too much. Again, it's that all in, all out kind of scenario. So I feel we just need to watch out for that as well. But anyway, Kindred, that's it for the new moon. Please just rest, enjoy, be creative, have fun. And as always, I'm sending you peace and much love. Take care.